My name is Mike. This is ESR Racing 101. Welcome to the ESR Racing 101 playlist. And we will, through these videos, be talking about various items of sim racecraft and things particular to the ESR community. We'll be teaching you how to utilize web assets such as Discord, how we have things set up, website, race app, etc. We'll also be talking about things that pertain to directly on the track. I personally will be focusing on Assetto Corsa Competizione because the two games that I tend to run are ACC and Race Room Racing Experience. And Race Room doesn't have really anything specifically unique to it. I mean, every so often there's a little tweak or thing that comes up. There was the time when going off track basically meant your tires were complete ice for like a half lap. Things of that nature that kind of come up. But there's not a lot. ACC goes a lot more into depth. There's more things to discuss, from some of the starting dynamics to some of the penalty dynamics to some of the in-game ways things work, such as custom liveries. So that'll be the focus. But just because I'm using ACC as a game doesn't mean that it wouldn't apply to another game. And there may be other games that come up. There may be other people who add videos to this as a way of talking about the games that they specialize in, that they run, that they want to inform people about. So, without further ado, let's get towards today's episode. So today we're going to go over rolling starts. Particularly this is reference to ACC, but it is pretty applicable to, I think, any other game when it comes to rolling starts. We are using the free start mode, which is simultaneously the easiest to mess up, but also the most real, obviously, because it represents a real life thing, and it also eliminates some of the problems that come with the widget, which is the fact that the widget can get black flags and drive-thrus for really non-offenses, sort of a cascade failure where someone isn't keeping their gap, other people are, and it leads into drive-thrus. We've seen this, I think it was at the practice race for Zandvoort 1 3D Speed Season, where someone just lagged at the start and 4 cars got drive-thrus for, air quotes, being out of position. But the problem was if they had retained position, the top 1 car, the pole sitter, would have just flown away with a massive gap. Which, needless to say, we don't want. So I've been using the free start tool for a while. And it's been fairly good, but it does rely on drivers being aware of the situation. So in this case, we have Matt Higgs here on pole. We had set a speed limit of 80 kilometers an hour. He's doing a good job of that. And then there's Murillo, Wentworth, Riccobeni. You can see how people are fairly tight here. There's here's not good. Murrah's off the is fairly well. Oh wait, you know what it is? There's a car missing. Right, I forgot. Dominic Turcotte's car should be here, but he had some kind of problem at the start of the race that put him to the pits, and otherwise he would have been here. So that's why that's why there's a gap for Murrah. But then we look at Watt and Simmons. Sutherland is way too far back. See, this is the thing. You see that there are cars that are starting behind him, specifically Zach Martin, that are now that are ahead of him that shouldn't be. And then as we go back, see Martin's fine. We can see French is kind of being held up here. The Tellier is a little too far back. The Sudas is... Whoa! Andreas, my friend. What is this gap? We'll be handling this in the stewarding video. But what I'm talking about is that your gap should look... Let's pick someone who's in the best spot, I think. It's probably Wentworth here. This is pretty much a perfect spot here. Let's get in the car. No, that's... Even that's too far back. That's not too bad, though. It's a little too far back. This is probably the perfect spot here, where you can get really nice and close. Now, a lot of people will ask the question, why is this important? Why is the gap important? Why all that? The larger the gap between the cars, granted, the more reaction time you have, but at the same time, the greater delta of speed you will create going into the first corner. Now, at Silverstone, which is the track here, it's not a huge deal because you're talking about a tap of a brake at Cops and going through. So there's not much of a problem here. But if you're at, say, Zolder, which has a high braking zone at turn 1, or Zandvoort, or Monza, or really most tracks, frankly, Nürburgring, Barcelona, all of these kind of count in the same, is that you're getting a longer run and thus creating a differential of speed. Let's find it. So let's use William Murr as an example. Now, Murr, again, there's supposed to be a car here, so this is kind of a natural gap that's forming. But if we take Paul Riccobeni here, which is the car starting directly in front of him, and we roll it up to the start of the braking zone, let's see where we can find the brake here. And green light. So you see, Paul's only getting like, what, a 100-meter roll up to there. He's doing 150 as he turns in. We go back to Murra. You can see what I mean. He's already up on his bumper. And he's doing... It was 162 there for a half second, and then he hit the brakes. Yeah, 162. So he's doing about 12 kilometers faster than Paul when we hit this turn, because he's got that gap. He's on a rundown of considerably more, and he can hit the gas really quick. So let's see here. Where's the go green for him? Let's say there somewhere. But anyways, you can see massive head start. Basically, effectively is what we get. Very much shows up here because, of course, Silverstone has a really short start finish straight, all things considered. But you can see how that would end up as a problem. Picture this as a heavy braking zone. Picture this as going down from 5th gear to 2nd gear or 3rd gear or something like that. Now imagine how quickly that gap closes and how you're going to hit the back of the car, because you're... And keep in mind that the concertina effect gets greater and greater because you've got Murra having, let's say, a 12-kilometer advantage, and then Max Simmons has a further 1-kilometer advantage. And if we go back to Zach Martin, we're in the braking zone there. Let's see here. He has no advantage. So you see that being close to someone keeps you on your toes and makes you react to their braking a lot quicker. And if the guy behind you is very close, he's going to do the same and same and same and same and same. Once you create a gap, you have that gap closing into turn 1, which is what's going to lead to a lot of carnage. So you don't want to have a gap like... I'm not picking on Mark Sutherland here because, I mean, one, he's new. But you don't want a gap like this. And you can kind of see it here. You can see where the gaps are. You can see there's a gap there. There's a gap there. This is more than I'd like, but is not terrible. Another fairly large gap there. Let's move to the front. So Higgs, this is a little bit much. This is probably perfect. This is probably perfect. I can't really say here because there's supposed to be a 5th place car between Riccobeni and or fifth place or sixth place or fifth place? I can't. Sixth place, I think. They're supposed to be between Murrah and Riccobene, so I'm not going to judge that one because that's a bit of a weird scenario. Okay, but not amazing. That's probably perfect. That's pretty good. That's maybe a little too close. I think that's Zach Martin. Yeah, the purple McLaren. Too big. Good. Little close. But I think it's a little close because of what Sutherland's doing here. He's leaving this large gap, and it's kind of Dan not wanting to give up. Because keep in mind, Dan, who is this golden black Porsche, is supposed to be ahead of this Nissan. So you can see that the order is completely getting boned up here. That there should be, so that's probably why he's getting close. Not bad. That's perfect. Too large. Pretty much perfect. Let's move back further here. Too large. Perfect. Probably great. Probably good. And then I think this is the back of the pack here. Little large, but these are fine. But you can see there's varying gaps here. So again, what your gap is supposed to look like, and it's going to vary car to car, unfortunately, because different cars are going to give different views. But you can see with the Lexus, you're pretty much perfect if you can just see just a hint of blacktop between you and the next car. Let's see if we can find another perfect example, but with like a mid-engine car would be nice. As to what that looks like, because they pretty much break down to mid-engine, and I like the gap Nelson's giving. So let's have a look at let's go inside Nelson's car. A little bit more gap there because obviously the nose is shorter, so you're going to see more blacktop. Maybe a little too far, but pretty reasonable gap. And then let's go back further and see if we can find another mid-engine car here. A Porsche would also be nice because, of course, the Porsches are a little bit weird, but I don't know if we really have one because French is too close and there's a Porsche on pole. The only other Porsche is Lasudis is too far back. Check our zoom in. This is not bad. So let's have a look at this. You can see a little bit of black top there. Whereas opposed to Andreas Lasudis, you can see quite a bit of black top there. This isn't terrible, but this is not good either. So the point is that you want to get up close, keep that, eliminate the delta to the first corner, keep the speeds pretty equal, because like we saw with Max Simmons and Murrah. Okay, so at 50 meters, he's at 154. And Murrah, at 50 meters, is going to be probably a fair bit quicker because he has that 152, actually not bad. So you can see there the tightness there keeps their speeds relatively the same. This means that they're braking at similar points. It's more like following during a race than it is this massive run, because in a real race, if you had let's say a half-second gap going into a corner, you have been doing the same kind of throttle pattern the whole time, keeping you more or less at the same thing. Whereas with this, you're hitting the gas, boom, at the green lights, but it's at a different point in time. The front row is like 100 meters away from the first turn. But as you go back and back and back further, you're getting more and more and more and more concertina into turn one. That's going to lead to a lot of carnage. So this is a hard one to really explain because it seems really, really simple in my head, but then putting it into words is a little bit more difficult. Anyways, hopefully that helps out. We got the 3-hour at Nürburgring coming up, and I'm hoping to see turn one be not a complete shit show, because number one, the aggression should be down in a 3-hour race, but number two, we should be lined up properly and able to deliver here. So that is today's video. Tune into this playlist for more ESR 101 content, and we'll be trying to talk about basically everything. There was a whole intro. If you didn't get the intro, go watch the intro again. There you go.